Hello and welcome to Team Franco Bodybuilding Podcast. Hope you guys are doing awesome out there, getting it done both in and out of the gym. Again, just want to thank you guys for listening, sharing, commenting on my podcast. It means the world to me, and it's a constant evolution of spreading the truth and hopefully connecting with some of you guys, which I do appreciate, where I hear from people who may already have coaches, but getting more angles of information I don't think is a terrible thing, so you can make educational choices for yourself, and ultimately that's my goal. And if I connect with you guys even more, always feel free to reach out to learn a little bit more about my philosophies for coaching and helping you reach your all-time best. Okay, enough of the commercial. Here is a topic that I've been wanting to talk about for quite a while, where it's kind of tying into the theme over my last few podcasts if you've been following. And I think it's a topic that a lot of people need to hear, especially if you're thinking about competing for the first time or coming back to competing or whatever the case may be. And it's this: keeping your competition prep private, right? And some of you might be saying, well, how can I do that with social media? But I'm going to argue with you, and I have my reasons, and I know it's difficult, but why I really do believe that keeping your prep in silence might be an advantage. Now, I'm not going to tell you that if you have been posting about your prep all along, for you to automatically stop. No. This is just one avenue, one tactic that you could take if you're thinking about competing or when you're finishing up your prep and you want to compete again. And there's pluses and minuses. So that's all I want to do is cover today, to give you guys the freedom of choice to think what's best for you. Where I would never tell people what to do exactly unless it's their diet and cardio and training. But when it comes to the mindset stuff, ultimately you need to figure out what works best for you. So this is what the intro is basically. So I'm going to be honest, and as you know, the greatest theme that I've been talking about, greatest theme meaning production, repetition, is that I do believe that social media can make your prep harder, not easier. Now, what if I told you, obviously, that announcing your prep, posting every meal, uploading check-ins to the public may actually hurt your results, not helping them? So let me just take you back for a second. When I first started competing, and I know you've heard me say this 1,000 times if you're a listener, so bear with me, but if you're new, again, when I first started competing, there was no social media. There was no Instagrams, no stories, no daily updates. But, maybe your family knew what you're doing as far as your contest prep. Maybe a couple people at your gym, obviously if you had a workout buddy or the people at the desk or the crew there. I mean, for me, I never trained out of a gym, so it was just my immediate family and friends that knew. But really, no one had a clue. And honestly, I think that's what made it powerful. Let me say that again. When you own it, and no one else really knows, it makes it powerful because it's your focus. And the focus was simple. You train, you eat, you recover, repeat. That's it. No distractions, no pressure, no comparison. And that's how it was. Now you look at the pros, yeah, maybe the pros back in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, they had a little bit more, but there was no social media. Yeah, they would go to shows to do posing expos or guest pose, sign autographs, sell their supplements. But still, that was it. There was clear separation. It wasn't 24/7. Now, obviously, if you're a competitor now and you're posting a lot on social media, I get it. Sometimes it's good affirmation. But what also is happening now, and what do you see, is announcements. I'm officially 16 weeks out. Daily physique updates, every meal posted, every cardio session shared. And listen, I get it. I think it could help with your accountability, especially if you don't have a coach. I get it. You get some support, which is not a terrible thing, where you may not be getting the support from your immediate family. People want to document their journey, so therefore they can look back and gather data. So there are plus sides to posting everything, but also I believe there's a fine line. But then the reality is, posting your prep is not the same as always executing your prep. Again, let me say that again. Posting your prep is not always the same as executing. And because of that, and this is sometimes the problem where things can go sideways, because once you put it out there, there's more pressure. Now you feel like you have to follow through. Now you're worried about other people, especially what other people are thinking, start judging you. Now you're comparing yourself to everyone else who is prepping. And what happens? You start you're only performing your prep instead of actually living it. That's a big difference. And to be real about that, social media is nothing but highlight reels. You're seeing someone at their absolute best lighting, best angles, best pump. And you're sitting there thinking, why don't I look like that? Oh, Joe Blow mentioned that I should be doing this with my posing, or Jane Smith says, you know what? You should really look better because you're 6 weeks out and you look like you're 12 weeks out. The comments start flying. The judgment starts flying from these strangers or maybe acquaintances at your gym. And it tends to then, unfortunately, fuck with your mind. So that is one of the also downsides where you got to realize if you're putting yourself out there, you're putting yourself out there for criticism. But this criticism is usually from people you really don't know or don't know what you've been doing or how long your prep is or your approach or your ultimate goals. So I think that is something that you need to be forewarned because ultimately it can mess up your mindset. And that, to me, can really mess up your head quickly. And if you're messing up with your head, your mindset, as you know, guys, and we talked about this before, it can affect your hormones, especially your cortisol levels, which reflect on actually burning body fat and maintaining muscle tissue. So, flip side, why sometimes doing this private can actually be better for your mental capacity, your hormones, and everything else that comes with it if you're getting additional stress. Now, I understand some people do it. You know, I have clients that post everything and they crush it. They win their pro cards, they're winning pro shows. But then there are people, obviously, when you put yourself out there, guess what? It gets quite difficult. And, you know, if you've been a listener and you pretty much follow the vibe of Team Franco, most of us out there are not promoting ourselves. There are some that do, and I encourage it. I love seeing it. I love seeing when people train, showing that they're getting stronger, their progress. But I guess what I'm trying to say is when you do put yourself out there, there could be chances of greater judgment, greater mind fucks, let's just say that. But you don't have to, where there are thousands of awesome competitors who just lurk on social media. And the funny thing is, I think I connect with those guys the most. I mean, seriously, because people will reach out to me on Instagram and you look at their profile and they haven't posted in 5 years. And if they did, it's a picture of their dog, where there are plenty of guys out there and I respect it. I love it. You know, you check out Instagram like I do. I go through things and you just won't comment. But if you see something interesting, then you finally react. And I've seen that over the last few years that those who are into fitness competitions, competing, building their bodies, and even great competitors simply lurk, but they're not putting themselves out there. For whatever the reason, it could be for what I'm talking about, because they want to keep their contest prep private. They want to keep their journey private. They want to own it. And to me, I think that's awesome, because social media has a tendency of amplifying things a little bit too much. Now, again, I have no disrespect for any of you guys that post everything all the time, all the time. I don't. Freedom of choice. I get into grooves that I post a lot of shit online. And, even my kids do during their preps and their journeys, which is cool. But I think what I'm trying to bring to you is that you want to weigh your options. And you also want to understand that there is power to me and to you guys of a private prep, right? So what happens, when you keep it private? I think you remove the noise. You remove any of those pressures. You especially remove validation. And now it's just you guys. It's just you versus you doing the work. You wake up, you execute, you move on with your day. No announcements, no explanations, just discipline. It's day in and day out, letting the days accumulate, showing your progress to yourself, to your coach, to your close ones at the gym, and then maybe occasionally putting it on social media if you want that extra bump, motivation, and push. Because I think this is what I will follow myself. I posted some things over the last couple weeks, and yeah, people are, hey, good job, Joe. And, I'm just, it makes you feel good. I'm not going to lie. It does. But not looking for, strangers to make me feel good every day. I do appreciate those in the industry that will comment. Those are close with me, my clients. Show them that, yeah, I'm still living proof that I believe in this lifestyle, that I can still compete at this age. And especially to show them, I'm doing the work too. So really, it comes down to discipline, self-discipline, not relying on anything else but that you versus you attitude. And this really ties into what I always try to say, right? Focus on what's right in front of you. Don't sweat the small stuff. Trust the process. Because when you keep things private, I do believe it becomes a lot easier for you to stay in your lane. Now, who's this for? I'm going to be clear about it. This is really big, I think, for first-time competitors. Because if you're new to this, if you're still building confidence, if you tend to overthink, compare yourself easily to others, then putting your entire prep out there can actually backfire. And I think that to me is not worth it because, again, I want people to enjoy their preps, give themselves an opportunity on deciding whether they want to do this again instead of putting all this stuff out there, putting extra pressure and saying, well, this sucks. If this is the way I have to do it, I don't want to do it ever again. Now, the balance take of all this is you have to ask yourself, can you prep publicly and be fine? Yeah, of course you can. If you're experienced, if you're mentally locked in, if you're using it for business or branding like I sort of do, that's different. If you don't mind putting yourself out there. But even then, there's still a fine line between sharing your journey and needing validation from it. That is the balance and flexibility that not only I talk about with food and your diet, but also the mental aspect. If you put yourself out there, do you have that mental toughness to handle it, right? You have to ask yourself that. Or if you find out that you are putting yourself out there, then all of a sudden you're like, shit, I'm in a bad spot mentally. It's okay. Back off. Stop posting everything. Post more about your animals or your garden or whatever, something else that's totally different. So here's what I want you guys to do. And I want to throw out a challenge, especially for the first timers out there listening. Try the private prep. If you're thinking about competing, don't announce it. Don't post your progress pictures. Don't tell the world that you're doing it. Keep it between you, your coach, and especially your close circle of friends and family. And then just, boom, do the work. Do the work day in and day out. Give it 4 weeks, give it 8 weeks, or do the whole entire prep this way. And then ask yourself, can I stay locked in without anyone else needing it or seeing it? That is the challenge that I would like to give you guys. Because again, everyone before you that competed didn't have social media. And I think it helped them more psychologically than anything else. Now, again, full disclosure, I don't look down on anyone. I understand the motivation that it can bring you, the accountability. I'm just giving you guys, like I said in the beginning, options to think about. Where I think if it's not working out for you, you want to try something else, right? So therefore, if the pressure of posting everything on social media is not working out for you, try a private prep. Because at the end of the day, it's always you versus you. I can't say that enough. And the stage doesn't care how much you posted, right? They don't know. It's the judges, your competition. They have no idea what your social media is about. And I always joke around, usually the people that show up and kick the most ass on stage, you're not going to see them on social media. It doesn't care how many likes you got. It only reflects when you're on stage the actual work that you put in. So the real question is, you have to ask yourself this. Are you doing it for the process, the journey, the living of learning about yourself? Or are you doing this for the attention? That is something else that you got to ask yourself. As always, guys, I do appreciate you tuning in. Again, I'm not pointing fingers. It's just something that I wanted to share with you because I've been on both sides of the spectrum of competing before and after or during social media. And then sometimes people just can't handle social media. So why not do your competition prep in private and maybe just, post a few things here and there. You could take away a lot of pressure and it could just possibly benefit you. Hopefully this has been helpful. If you like it, let me know. If you think I'm an asshole, let me know. I'll talk to you next time. If you're into my coaching and want to learn more, hit me up, fitfranco@verizon.net. Take it easy, guys.